Vin Diesel built an empire on the word family. He said it in every interview, printed it on merchandise, made it the emotional core of a franchise worth billions. But the people who actually worked alongside him tell a different story, and some of them are names you'd recognize immediately. The list of actors and directors who refused to share a set with Vin Diesel reads like a Fast and Furious reunion nobody wants to attend. Former co-stars, franchise veterans, Hollywood newcomers who arrived with goodwill and left with something else entirely. What happened behind those cameras stayed quiet for a while, until it didn't. Dwayne Johnson walked into the Fast and Furious universe having already conquered two industries. The WWE made him a global name. San Andreas and Jumanji proved he could carry a blockbuster on his own, and when he arrived on set, he came ready to collaborate. What he found instead was a production environment where one person controlled every decision, every scene, every outcome. Set technicians and production members described a pattern where Vin would arrive late, rewrite scenes without warning, and argue against choices the director had already locked in. Nothing moved unless Vin approved it, and if he didn't approve it, it changed, even after filming had already begun. Johnson absorbed the friction for a while, and then came a day mid-shoot when Vin overruled a fight sequence because, by his own account, it didn't make him look strong enough. No discussion with the team, no conversation with the director, just a unilateral decision on a set full of people who'd already prepared for something else. And that's when Johnson stopped absorbing. He went to Instagram, not to a private meeting, not to a studio executive, but to his public page, and wrote that some people conduct themselves as stand-up professionals while others simply don't. No names. He didn't need them. Everyone from the crew to the executive suites understood exactly who he meant. What happened next revealed how deep the problem actually ran. Fast 8 contains no real shared frame between Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. Every scene where they appear together was constructed through editing and separate camera setups, a logistical workaround that cost the production significant time and money. When Universal started building Fast 9, they reached out to Johnson about returning, and his answer was straightforward. Not while Vin is there. No negotiation followed, no studio-arranged sit-down, no carefully worded press statement about mutual respect. By the 10th installment, the two weren't even referenced together in marketing. A split so complete that the machinery of a Hollywood franchise couldn't paper over it. Tyrese Gibson spent years being Vin Diesel's most vocal defender. In press rooms and on social media, he called him brother, stood up for him when critics came swinging, treated the franchise's stated theme of family like something he actually believed in. The collapse didn't come from a stranger. It came from the man he'd been defending. When Universal greenlit the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off centered on Dwayne Johnson, Tyrese's frustration exploded. But not toward Johnson, toward Vin. Because what came out was that Vin hadn't simply agreed to the spin-off. He'd actively pushed for it, and the downstream effect was a year-long delay on Fast 9 that kept the entire main cast in a holding pattern, unpaid, while the spin-off moved forward. Tyrese was already dealing with financial strain when that delay landed, which made the whole situation feel less like a business decision and more like a betrayal dressed up in franchise logic. He said so publicly, calling Vin fake and manipulative and asking out loud what the word family actually meant if it only applied when the person at the top was benefiting. The post spread everywhere. The conversation inside the production never fully recovered. Since that moment, Tyrese and Vin have operated with strict professional distance, no shared meals, no candid photos, no joint press appearances. Their representatives made sure of it. Whatever warmth once existed between them now lives entirely in the script. Michelle Rodriguez has been in this franchise since the beginning, which means she had more accumulated goodwill to spend than almost anyone, and she spent it in 2017 when she posted a message that stopped the conversation cold. The women of this saga deserved more, she said, and if that didn't change, she was prepared to walk. nobody missed the target she was pointing at. For years, Rodriguez had been raising the same concern internally, meeting with writers and producers, asking for female characters with actual depth and real dialogue, watching those conversations disappear into a development process that never seemed to reach a conclusion. No one in those rooms was willing to take the feedback upward, because upward led to Vin, and nobody wanted that confrontation. Her public post forced the issue in a way that private meetings never could. Universal responded quickly. Scenes were added for Letty, dialogue was reworked, the female characters got a bit more room to exist. None of that erased what the moment had revealed about how decisions actually got made on that set. Rodriguez stayed in the franchise, fulfilled every press commitment, showed up to every photo call, but the texture of her relationship with Vin shifted into something functional and cool. The conversations on set became minimal. What had once been genuine connection became performance. Justin Lin built the version of Fast and Furious that audiences actually loved. He took a franchise that had stalled after its third entry, rebuilt it with Fast 5 into something genuinely cinematic, and then came back for Fast X expecting to direct a film. 1 week into production, he resigned. The financial damage to the studio ran into the millions before a replacement could even be identified, and Lin offered no press tour explanation, no detailed account of what broke down. People close to the production filled in the picture instead. The pattern was the same one others had described: rewrites without notice, location changes decided at the last minute, arguments over individual lines of dialogue while cameras were rolling. A director of Lin's experience wasn't directing anymore. He was executing whatever Vin decided he wanted that day, and for someone who'd rebuilt this franchise from the ground up, that arrangement was intolerable. The moment that ended, it happened in front of producers. Vin interrupted Lin mid-explanation and stated flatly that what Lin was describing wasn't what he wanted to show. Lin went quiet, left the set shortly after, and never returned. His name stayed in the credits. Somebody else finished the film. The silence Lin maintained afterward communicated more than any statement could have. Jason Momoa came to Fast X directly off Aquaman, carrying genuine enthusiasm for a franchise he'd grown up watching. The controlled environment he walked into was something he hadn't anticipated. Suggestions required Vin's approval before they could be considered. Improvised lines needed to clear a filter. When a scene wasn't working, the conversation didn't go to the director, it went to Vin. Momoa adapted as long as he could, and then stopped adapting. At the premiere, he told a reporter there had been difficult moments and left it exactly there. For someone with Momoa's reputation for warmth and creative openness, that particular restraint said plenty. People close to him confirmed afterward that he had no intention of returning, that the character had been enjoyable, but the experience of making the film had been too controlled, too airless, for someone who needed creative room to work. John Cena arrived for Fast 9 carrying exactly the kind of reputation a franchise wants attached to a new cast member. His work ethic was documented, his professionalism was public record, and the character of Jacob Toretto, Dom's lost brother, gave the story a genuinely interesting place to go. None of that translated into warmth on set. Sources close to production described Vin treating Cena as a studio imposition rather than a collaborator, someone to be tolerated rather than welcomed. Camera operators noted that in shared scenes, the two operated in separate lanes, professional and parallel, with no organic connection between takes. The tension surfaced most clearly during preparation for a physical confrontation between their characters. Cena, careful about safety and precision in action sequences, asked to run the choreography multiple times, and Vin's response was impatience. "Do it as written," he said, according to witnesses, because it wasn't complicated. The atmosphere tightened enough that the production quietly shortened the sequence to limit how long both men needed to be in the same space. A scene built on the idea of family conflict, trimmed down because the people performing it couldn't stand being in the same room. What runs through all of these accounts is the same structural problem. A set where one person's comfort determined everything else, where directors couldn't direct, where co-stars couldn't collaborate, where years of goodwill could dissolve in a single production cycle. Dwayne Johnson left. Justin Lin left. Jason Momoa won't return. Tyrese Gibson calls the family rhetoric a performance. Michelle Rodriguez stayed, but the warmth went cold. John Cena kept his distance and moved on. The franchise kept releasing films, the box office kept responding, and Vin Diesel kept talking about family in every interview. But the people who built that franchise alongside him tell a story that sounds nothing like the one on screen.